Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let's go there again. We go there every week, and this week we have a very, very special guest, Tracy. And I'm so happy that she's here to talk to us because it's not often that you find someone with such a niche expertise in this area. I mean, Australia has just recently legalized gay marriages, and yay! So just a little bit of background about Tracy and what she's here to talk about. Tracy is a social worker and transformational coach for over 14 years, and she has been supporting LGBT plus people and their families. And without going further, I'll let Tracy tell you more about herself. But today we are here to talk about mainly she helps parents and children who come out to their parents, so the transition. And so today we'll talk about the struggles that parents face, as well as one very important thing that we all parents should talk about, but we all struggle, is sexual health with our children, because we want to talk about it. I mean, I do, but the kids want nothing to do with it. And then another thing we want to talk about is what is one thing that LGBT plus parents need to do. So while I go and do my tech work as usual, I'm going to let Tracy tell you a little bit more about what she does. Over to you, Tracy.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, so like Karen said, I'm a social worker and transformational coach, and I focus my business mostly on supporting parents of LGBT plus people. So regardless of what the age of their child is, when a child comes out, it can be a little bit confronting or challenging or concerning for parents. So I support them through that process to let go of the overwhelm and to better understand their child and also their own experience of this whole process and the situation. Because parents often have the idea of what they expect their child is going to grow up to be and how they're going to be and all of those kinds of things. And perhaps they have dreams, whether they're conscious of them or not, in relation to profession and relationships and all of those things. So I help them work through all of that. Did you want me to expand a bit more, Karen, or? So one of the other things that I also do, I'll keep going.
Apologies. There's a little bit
okay.
of a Zoom thing happening. They're like, it's
a little bit
bad.
of a delay.
Please
no, that's all right. So the other thing that I do is also supporting LGBT plus adults so that they can work through their own experiences and how perhaps their experiences of coming out when they were younger may be impacting their life now, and helping them live their authentic, true selves and live a fulfilled life. But today we're here to talk more about supporting the parents and all the things that they can expect and to work through.
Yes, I'm finally done with my with my
tech
work.
Is so fun, isn't it?
I know. Did you see like the frowning and the okay, anyway, if you have watched all my videos, you know that I don't like to edit, which is why, I've made it in such a way, because the less time I spend worrying about the tech work, the more conversations that I can have with, important people who are willing to come and talk about it. So just a little bit of housekeeping. You will notice that in the comments, when you're watching YouTube, there will be timestamps. So if there is a topic that you want to skip ahead to go to now, please feel free to do that. But I encourage you to watch the whole video, because let me tell you, Tracy is unusual. What she does is unusual. And if you're looking for help, because I noticed that our generation have been raised to be brave and to be who they are. So more and more are willing to come out young, and because they want to live their lives, why not? And so if you are looking for support in this area, Tracy is the one, but at the end of the video, we'll tell you how to find her, because there's no point showing you the goods, but I'm not telling you where to buy it. Will it? Now, so we will just round back to where we started. Now, Tracy, what are the struggles parents face when the children come out to them?
Great place to start. So parents will, obviously everybody's unique and everybody's different, but there are generally, a bunch of experiences that parents will have, and they'll experience them in different ways depending on where they're starting. So some parents will be accepting of their child, but really struggling with, a variety of different things. And other people will really struggle to accept their child and perhaps be in complete denial about their child's sexuality or gender identity. But regardless of that, the struggles are similar. They're just, I guess, the power of them may be a little bit different. So often the struggles are connected to fear and worry about a child's safety or about their well-being, about their future. Like I touched on briefly around education, professional futures, relationships, whether they'll have kids or not. That's a big one for a lot of parents. They're wanting to be grandparents and feel that perhaps this means that they can't be, which isn't true, just so
No,
you know.
that's right.
Parents will struggle potentially with the idea, and this is why we're talking about sexual health and relationships. They might feel like they don't have enough information to have the conversations that they ordinarily might like to have with their child to help with their safety around sexual health and relationships. And, worrying about other people in their lives. So whether that's extended family, whether that's work colleagues, friends, neighbors, other communities that they're part of, can be church and communities, sporting communities, all
Oh,
of those
yes,
different
yes.
things,
That's right.
because parents have to come out too.
Yeah.
And, it's a different experience, though there are some crossovers. So, there's a whole bunch of different things that parents can really struggle with. And I just want to say that regardless of those struggles does not indicate that you love your child any less.
Yeah,
And the
that's a good
important thing is that
point.
you work through this stuff separately to your child, because it's not your child's responsibility to make you feel better. So working through that stuff separately to them and being able to have a space where you can talk openly and explore your feelings and be open about them, so that, you're not feeling like you have to hide them because you're being judged, that it means you don't love your child as much or something like that. It's not true. We all know that you love and care for your child and you want the best for them, regardless of where you are on the spectrum of accepting or not accepting. Almost all parents love and care about their children, if not all. It's just that they're struggling with this particular situation, with the news that they've been given.
That's
And,
right.
people can struggle for a long time if they don't address it. So
That's right.
that's why I do what I do.
That's it. And because, dude, I personally feel very strongly about this topic, as I do about all the topics, which is why, I bring my speakers on, on board, is that I have friends who have come out and the parents just won't accept it. They'll rather cut off. They'll rather be estranged and never speak again. And that's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad, because why is your child's happiness not more important than your ego and how people see you?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And that can be a really big one. And often, again, it's connected to fear. And if people don't understand sexuality or gender identity outside of being heterosexual and cisgender, then it can be really hard to comprehend that your child is having this experience. And you can believe that it's not true and that they're doing it on purpose to upset you or to, cause trouble or all sorts of things. And I think as humans, we sit with what we know and what we're
That's
most
right.
comfortable with, and we have little stories going on in the back of our head that reinforce what we think to be true and what we think to be right. So if this is completely unfamiliar to you, then it's not surprising that you might struggle and that you might just shut down because you don't know what to do with those feelings.
I know I don't fully understand it. I think I do. I mean, I have gay friends, and they're just friends. They're just another person. So I don't fully understand the concept of it all, because I'm not in their shoes. I would never know. But that doesn't mean they're any different though. So it baffles me. It continues to baffle me that they choose that. That the parents are like, no, some I don't get
I think
it.
it's a protective mechanism. They don't know what to do with what they're feeling and what they're thinking. It feels way too much, overwhelming, and so they kind of shut down. And the end result of that is then, sadly, people become estranged. And yeah, which is why I work with families, to particularly parents, to help them understand first. Understand what sexuality means and what gender identity means, and
That's
how
right.
it can be different to what your experience is.
That's right.
So
I mean,
that's the
if in the
first place to
forefront,
start.
they just, if you care so much about your child, so this is me talking,
Mhm.
then let it be your goal is to understand and accept.
Yeah,
That's enough, that's all. It's got nothing to
yeah,
do with you. It's nothing to do whether you're a good parent or not. And they even think that, the children are bad. So what is it got to do with it?
yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think for a lot of people, there's underlying things there. Whether it's culture or religion or
Yep.
strong family beliefs, or things like that are really driving those feelings. And again, it all comes back.
That's
People might
right.
not realize it, but it all comes back to fear around something. Yeah,
Always, everything is fear related. Almost
yeah.
everything, and shame
Fear,
driven.
yeah, yep, yep. It
Yeah. So I
controls
don't
so
I
much
don't
of
even
our
get it.
lives.
Thank God I'm born with a little less shame than most people. Anyway, so now the next question is, what is one very important thing that parents must do?
Well, I mean, it's not that a must, but it's an end result, is that parents have to come out to. And parents will realize this on some level, and often that is a big part of what the fear and
So
the
explain
worry
what
is.
does come out mean though.
Yeah, I will. So what it means is, so a child comes out meaning that they share something about themselves, about their sexuality or gender identity. I actually prefer to use the language invite in when I'm talking about people, LGBT plus people. It just feels a little bit nicer. So
Sure.
what they're
Yeah.
doing is inviting you in, because
Mm.
they trust you and they care about you, into
Yeah.
their world, and sharing a little bit more about themselves. But in society, we understand coming out a lot more. So that's why I'm saying coming out here today.
Yes,
So
that's right.
parents have to do that too. They have to come out about their child. So they have to make decisions in all different sorts of situations in their life about whether or not they share the information about their child's sexuality and or gender identity. And that can be massive, because separately to their child, so their child gets to make that decision about themselves. Of course they do, because it's about them and their life, and they are the ones that should be making that decision.
That's
Nobody else
right.
should be making it for them.
That's right.
Parents find themselves in a situation where they have to first check in their own minds, or with their child, whether or not it will be okay with their child for
Mm-hmm.
them to come out to this person about them. So
Right.
one of the things that I work really closely with parents and anybody else that I work with is, you must never come out for somebody else without their explicit
That's it.
consent. So for a parent, they've got to have that explicit consent from their child in relation to pretty much every situation. And that can become, a bit draining and tiring and confusing as well. And then also they've got to make their own decisions as well. Is it going to be safe? Is it going to be safe for my child? Is it going to be safe for me to do this? Is
That's
it
right.
going to impact my life or my child's life? And if so, how might that be? You can never know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And also, do I need to? Like, we
Yeah.
don't run around telling all of our friends and our colleagues and our neighbours that our child is straight or cis. So we don't necessarily need to, broadcast it to
That's
everybody.
right. That's
But
right.
there are situations where it is important. And if you're not doing it, your child might get offended. So it's a really
Yeah.
difficult balance
It
there
is. It's a
with
fine
your
line, isn't
child.
it?
Yeah, yeah. So all I wanted to, I guess, point out today is that is a big thing for parents. And obviously there's differences to their child's experience of coming out, but
Yeah.
parents don't always have all of the control and all of the say, and nor should they, because it's not about them.
That's
But
right.
it can make that decision making around whether or not you do or you don't a little bit more difficult, because there's extra things for them to consider.
Correct. And the thing is, if I may just jump in for a moment, is that
Of course.
parents think that we own them. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. So you don't have the right to go and, share with the neighbors and everyone else. And even with my own son, when he's got a girlfriend, when my friends ask me, "Oh, does Julie have a girlfriend?" I'll say, "I don't know.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask him?" I don't
Yeah.
know why I did that, but I feel that it's not my story to tell,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's his. It's his
Exactly.
life, and what has it got to do with me? And they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, don't you know you're his mom?" Well, ask him yourself.
Yeah.
I
And
guess that is the same thing.
it's similar for
Mm,
sure. So part of it, and it will depend on the conversation you've had with your child
that's
first. So
right.
that's an ongoing conversation you'll have, because that will shift for your child as time goes on. So you would have that early on, and they might say, no, don't tell anyone. Or they might say, you're allowed to tell this person, but no one else,
That's
for
right.
example.
That's right. That's
But
true.
then in a week or tomorrow or in 3 months' time, that might change. So
That's
the
right.
dialogue needs to stay open within the family.
Yeah.
And also, we don't want to, unless the child says, tell them to ask me, we don't want to be saying that, because
That's right.
actually it's not appropriate to outright ask somebody, oh, are you gay? Or are you trans?
Yeah.
That's
Actually,
like,
people don't. Then again, I do it sometimes, but I don't. I do wait for the right time. I don't just
yeah.
ambush them.
So yeah, so there's different ways that's kind of okay in the way you do it, but I guess there's the difference in that situation. The same kind of idea, but we wouldn't send people to ask our child
Yeah.
about
Most
their
of the time,
sexuality
people
or
don't
gender
know.
identity.
When you tell them, because they want to know through you, because they wouldn't
Yeah,
ask them. That's why they're
yeah,
asking you.
yeah. And
So,
so also checking in why. So for me, if someone were to be asking me, I would be asking myself, why do they want to know this?
mm,
And then depending on the situation, I might ask them
that's right. That's right.
why
Actually,
they want to know that. So
that's
if they're
right.
curious because they want to, like, say it's a close family member and they say, oh, does such and such have a boyfriend or girlfriend or partner or whatever, talking about sexuality, then it might be just that they're curious to get to know more about them.
Mm,
And if you have consent, then maybe you do say, oh yeah, they've got a partner, or you
yeah.
might actually say, yes, they've got a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever the
Yeah.
case
Yeah.
is. But there's a lot of checking in, and this is why, like I've got a couple of programs, and part of the work I do is also about, like, parents being able to, particularly once they've gone part through the journey and they're accepting and they're supportive and they've kind of learnt the things they need to learn, then there comes the time where parents need to regroup and start taking care of themselves,
Yeah.
because all of this thinking about and checking in about all of these things can get exhausting. It's no one's fault, but it's more work than, emotional and cognitive work, I suppose,
Yes.
that you have to go through
Yes.
in.
Yes.
And particularly when a child is transgender or gender diverse and they're wanting to affirm their gender either socially and or medically, then that also is a lot of work for everybody,
Yeah.
putting all the different things in place that have to be put in place,
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And especially the part when you say the checking in and the motive, the reason behind why they want to know. Because I've got a
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend who's very private, and she
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't. If someone asked her a question about herself, like something personal, she would choose to not answer,
Mm-hmm.
because she would question, why do you need to know? I don't want to
Yeah.
be your next coffee topic. So
Yeah.
she's very fussy about who she tells. So now I totally understand, and it is a very fine line.
It
And you're
is.
right, the checking in is important.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a balance to continue to keep that dialogue open within the family, but also not make every single conversation you have with your kids about their sexuality or gender identity.
I know, not like every weekend we're checking, like, so do we tell people now? Do we not tell them now? You won't actually, you will know if you just be mindful, you would know though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just be mindful. Anyway, so we'll move on to this part I've spoken to Tracy about, but we've never really delved into it because I thought, oh, let's keep it until we have this conversation, and this is good.
Let's see where we go with it.
I know. Now, every parent wants to talk about this topic, but we struggle. Some parents don't want to talk about it because they don't want to know about it. It's almost like, no, my children, they don't have sex. It's not normal. It is normal. Have you forgotten how when you were 16, 18, you can't get enough? It's very normal, people. Very normal.
Yes, it is.
And the more you are open to talk to them about it, the better it is. So I, for example, am very open to, I want to talk about it, like I want to educate, but they are shutting me out. They're like, no, mom, don't need to talk to you about it. So how do we do it?
Yeah, so you're right. It's a topic of conversation that some parents are really uncomfortable with. Some parents really want to talk about it, but the kids don't want to talk about it.
Isn't it the irony of it all?
I will give you a really good reason to be having the conversation before we even get into it.
Okay.
Kids today, if they don't get their education and their information from a healthy, intelligent, well-informed adult, they are going to get it from porn.
Yes, they do.
That is the bottom line. In fact, regardless of whether you have the conversation or not, they're going to get a lot of their information and education from porn. Almost every young person will do that.
Yes, so to parents out there, your little angel would have seen porn. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, well, depending on their age.
Yes. Sorry, yes. When I say little, not like little. I'm
much younger than what you think.
No, likely. Really?
Yeah. I'm not going to put an age on it because, of course, every child is different.
Yeah.
But we need to start these conversations young. Now, obviously, you keep the conversations age appropriate. You're not going to be talking about the details of sexual intercourse with a 3-year-old. Of course, no. I'm not saying that. But we do need to be starting those conversations with very young children around body parts, using appropriate language, using the correct language when we talk about body parts.
That's right.
Giving children the opportunities to and creating space where they can have full control over their own body. So not forcing them to be hugged by people they don't want to be hugged by.
That's right.
And, things like that, so that they learn, because it's not just about sex. It's also about consent, and it's about healthy relationships. And kids start learning this from very, very young. That's from day one, really. So if they learn that they can say no to crazy Uncle Joe that wants to give them a big smooch on the cheek and bear hug them, then that's a great thing. Because crazy Uncle Joe, when I say crazy, he's like eccentric and loud and whatever. He needs to respect them, and they need to know that he will respect them.
Yeah, that's hard.
And then they can have a hug when they want a hug.
Yeah.
Not because he decides he wants one, and then the parents feel guilty and feel like, oh, this is awkward. Yeah, go and give Uncle Joe a hug.
Yeah, I know. That's hard.
We need to support our kids.
That's right.
It is. But this is where the education around sexual health, healthy relationships, and consent starts.
Wow. No, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's not all the birds and the bees. Wow. That's well into it. It's really young, where we teach our kids that our body parts are not parts to be ashamed of. So we use the proper language, not using funny names because we're ashamed or embarrassed to talk about.
I know.
Them. And then we help them realize that, their body is their body, even their shoulder. Like, it's not just the private parts, and calling them private parts is probably not that helpful either. But even a hand on their shoulder, if they don't want someone's hand on their shoulder, they have the right to say no. And these are the things that we can teach kids really, really young.
I love it. I'm going to bring this up with my parenting expert. I don't know if she's aware of that. I love it.
Yeah, this is all comes from my training around, sexual abuse and then consent and how all that works.
Right,
That's
right,
where
right.
I get a lot of
Wow,
information.
no, we do. I mean, I'm guilty of it.
So
Then,
well,
grandma
that's
needs a
because
hug. You
we're
have to go
not
and give her a hug.
informed.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean, if your child has a good relationship with that person, you inviting them, saying, "Oh, do you want to give grandma a hug?" Then that gives them control. And
Right.
if they say no, you let them know that's okay. That's okay. Grandma, I mean, you don't have to say it like this exactly, but grandma still loves you. And, you can give grandma a hug whenever you like. I'm sure grandma would love it when you decide you'd like to, or, like different things like that. It's giving them permission to say no.
No, but that
And
is if the extended family understands what you're doing.
but what's the most important thing here?
Thank you. All
Your
right.
child's safety, their health, their well-being, or grandma's feelings being hurt. You can always have a conversation with grandma later and say, look, I've just learnt that this is a really important part of teaching my child how to have healthy relationships when they're older.
Yeah,
It's not about you personally.
I love it.
And so we're just now practicing
Yeah.
them being able to say no, and you're a safe person for them to say no to.
Ooh, you
So
are
this
very
is
good
where
at
they
your
get to
job.
practice.
You are very good at your job.
So, if you anticipate this might be something that's going to happen, then you can word them up first and just
Yeah.
say, this is what we're practicing now. I want you to know this isn't about you. You're a safe person for her to practice, or him to practice, or them to practice saying no to.
Yeah.
So I just want to let you know in advance so you're not, kind of uncomfortable in that moment, because you also don't want grandma or whoever then going, yes, you have to give me a hug, and going up and
I know.
because then you're in that difficult situation where you've got to then go, actually, they said no.
That's it.
Yeah. So if you anticipate it, having the conversation with the adults first is often helpful. It's not always easy, not always possible, even because you might not see them all the time, but
Yeah, that's right. That's
it's
right. That's the
definitely a
hard
way
part.
to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a snap the fingers, oh, I've just learnt this thing, I have to do this with everybody. You can work your way into it.
Yeah.
Especially if your kids are a bit younger and you've got some time. But
Yeah.
it's just like helping them.
That's such a
So
great
anyway,
place to
so
start.
that's where all of these things start. Sexual health, consent, healthy relationships, that's where it starts. If we're talking about kids as they're getting older, and we want to start having conversations more specifically around sex and sexual health, we need to have these conversations, again, age appropriately. But you need to check yourself as a parent what's age appropriate, because we often, like you mentioned at the start, we think our kids aren't going to have sex until they're like 25 or something, because we just don't want to go there.
That's it.
But let me tell you a key trick. Don't wait until they're in a serious relationship and you're going, they're going to be having sex, I've got to have this conversation.
That's
because
right.
they are going to be so weirded out by that, and they're going to shut down, and you're going to be awkward and uncomfortable potentially. And even if you're not, they're not going to want to hear it.
That's it.
So giving them the information earlier. So if you think about, I don't know, other situations that you teach them things, you don't wait until they're in, you're not going to wait until they're in the deep ocean before you teach them to swim.
But
You're
that's
going
the
to teach them
thing,
in a shallow
Tracy.
pool first.
But that's the thing, though. Everything else we anticipate and we teach them ahead of time is just this one thing.
Yeah.
This sex thing, we
This
don't
one thing
talk
is
about
no
it.
different.
Yeah, but we don't talk about it until they have a serious girlfriend, and then bam, we're gonna try and jam it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So we need to be mindful of that. So if you are in a position now that you can do that, then that's what I suggest, doing it when they're younger. If you're sitting there going, oh crap, I've missed the
Well,
boat
we know.
because they're now 16 and in a serious relationship or whatever, that's okay. That's okay. Just be mindful that it's going to be really hard for them to hear, and your approach will be a little bit different. So you might say to them, look, I want to have a conversation with you, etc., etc. And they're going to be like, la, 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 not listening. Then you've got to create a safe space for them. You've got to create a space where they can feel comfortable, where they can feel like, yes, I can have conversation, or I can at least listen. So first of all, you let them know, you don't need to say anything back to me, but there are some things that I need you to hear, that are important for you to hear. And I'm saying this, I'm wanting to say this to you because I respect whoever the partner is, and I respect you, and I know you're a kind and caring person, and I want you to be able to go into that relationship or be in that relationship in a kind, loving, caring way, because I know that's what's going to feel best for you.
Yeah.
Now, if you know your child's listening or watching, I should say, porn, then that's an even more important. I mean, you can safely assume that they most likely are if they're adolescent age or older, and you can name that, and they will be like, "Ugh." But naming it means that they then no longer have to hide.
That's it. You're
They
right.
know that you're on the same page as them. They know that you understand. They know that you get it. And so trust me, some of it will sink in. And it needs to be more than one conversation. It doesn't need to be, let's sit down and talk about the birds and the bees for 3 hours.
Here's the PowerPoint presentation I prepared for you.
But trying to, like, you know, allow it to be part of conversations on a semi-regular basis. So what you want to let kids know is that what happens in porn, so making sure they don't feel shamed for watching porn. Porn's normal. Everybody,
it is normal,
you know, is watching it now, you know, et cetera, et cetera. The difference is, you know, for a lot of parents is that when they or their friends were looking at porn back in the day,
it was magazines.
They were magazines. They were still pictures. You couldn't interact, and you weren't getting behaviors. You were getting still pictures.
Yes.
And also, it was nowhere near as accessible. So people might have had one magazine under their pillow or 5 magazines under their pillow, not have this constant access to just be binge watching really unhealthy porn.
Yeah.
The other thing is too, porn is it used to be, well, it still is regulated, but the problem is the industry is regulated, but the internet isn't.
Yeah.
So a lot of what kids access or people access online is not part of the industry, and therefore it's not regulated. So it used to be that you couldn't, you know, with when I say regulated, it's like called soft porn, hard porn, XXX, or, you know, whatever. I don't know what all the names are, but so someone could go in and watch soft porn, and that would be literally soft porn. You know, what we would probably expect.
Actually, is what's on TV now, soft porn. Seriously.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So, but so much of it now is not part of the industry, so it's not regulated. So we get to see, if you know, and without even intending, we get to see some pretty harsh, full-on things that are not normal sexual experiences for most people.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So this is why we're having this conversation, right? Because most people don't know this, and this is happening because of it's impossible to regulate what's coming up on the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
So I did a training years ago around this, and like I didn't run the training, I attended the training. And what I learned, one of the things that really stood out to me in that was that young men and women they truly believe that some of these experiences, some of these behaviors are what is expected of them. So young men are doing things thinking that that's what girls like, and I'm talking about heterosexual sex at the moment.
Yeah.
But they're thinking that that's what girls like. And girls are watching it and thinking, oh, this is what I'm meant to like. So they're putting up with stuff that they're meant to like. Yeah, it's really, really scary stuff.
Wow.
So this is why it's so important. We need to have the conversation. Now, taking it a step back, we're here to talk to parents of LGBT plus people.
Yeah.
Everything that I've just said, let's take that tenfold. Because sexual health education, consent, healthy relationships, they're not taught to our LGBT plus young people anywhere.
No way.
They're not getting it. I think most schools don't do a fantastic job of sexual health education, to be honest,
They
but
don't.
they're not getting any of it, because it's almost always talking about heterosexual relationships and cisgender people.
Yeah,
So you need to know that if your child is even questioning their sexuality or gender identity, they're switching off in those classes.
that's
They're getting
right.
nothing, because it's not talking to them. It doesn't mean
That's
anything.
right. Doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then when they access the porn that is more relevant to them,
Mm.
they've got the same situations and sometimes worse.
Oh no.
So they're they're not getting, I don't want to go into too much detail because we haven't got enough time, but for example, porn where it's males having sex with males, there's all these different kind of things that go on as far as roles people play and all of that. And so young men can get really poor information about what's expected of them.
Yeah,
And that's kind of scary.
it is.
And so I guess I'm just trying to reiterate the importance of us having the conversation. Now, of course, if you're straight or cisgender, you might actually not have much of an idea about how to have a conversation with your child about it around detail.
Yeah.
Don't try and do it when you don't know, but you can have conversations about it and allow them space to talk and talk about healthy relationships, talking about consent,
Yeah.
and all of these things. And you can support them to find somewhere that they can get healthy, accurate information.
Like from you.
Well, yeah, I can provide some of that, but I'm not a sexual health expert.
Yeah.
I know a fair bit of stuff, and I would really be happy to have those conversations with people. But also there might be someone in your local communities, say, like where I used to work, there was a GP who was a gay man, and he was able to have really like open, professional, obviously,
Wow.
conversations with young people.
That's good.
But he obviously didn't advertise the fact that he's a gay man, and he didn't advertise the fact that he would do that. It's just that a couple of young people that I was working with happened to go to him as a GP and happened to be having some difficulties. That GP was pretty switched on and was able to support.
Wow, that's
those
amazing.
people. Yeah, so it's not really easily accessible, but
No.
for you to have those conversations with your child and support them to try and access that, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And again, you can still talk about healthy relationships. You can talk about consent. You can
That's
talk
right.
about porn not being real life.
That's
like
it.
Again, not shaming them.
So
If they're going to
important.
watch it, but please, if you're going to watch it, understand that it's not real life. Those people are actors. Most
That's
people
right.
don't like most of what happens.
That's
You need to
right.
be having conversations with your sexual partner,
That's
your
right.
intimate partner.
You are exactly right. I mean, what
Check
we
what
watch on
people
TV
like.
is not right. It's not right. I mean, sorry, I'm getting all worked out.
Exactly.
What we watch on TV is not real. So why should
Exactly.
porn be real? So
Exactly.
makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So we're just
when
gonna.
a child watches a show on TV and they're kind of going, oh, what's that? A parent's able to say, oh, that's not real.
That's a good
But a
one.
parent's not sitting beside their child when they're watching porn,
That's
being
right.
able to say,
That's
that's
right.
not real.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. This is such an amazing. I've learned so much from it today.
Awesome.
So we're just going to wrap this up, and thank you, Tracy, for being with us today. So if you have been watching my YouTube channel, there are other videos that you would like to access, please do so. And before we go, I'm just going to let Tracy tell you where you can find her. Like I said, no point advertising something and then not really advertising her, but she's here to educate us, and she will be leaving some information about how you can find her if you need help.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, as are most people, and I've got a website. So my business is called Indigo Journey, and so www.indigojourney.co, no M, that's probably the best way you'll find me. But I'll put my Facebook and Instagram. It's Indigo Journey 1, I think. But I'll put the links in the comments for that as well.
Yeah. So if you need any help at all, please feel free to reach out to Tracy. She'll be more than happy to help. And she is very, very experienced, as you have heard and watched during this video. I hope this has helped you, because it has definitely helped me. I mean, now I can pass on more information to other people, which is really good. So many things I thought I know some shit. No, this is mind blowing. So thank you again. And
you're very welcome. And I'm happy to support people at any stage that they're at as well.
Yeah. So I'll see you next week with my next guest. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Ooh.